Time is 6:30. I call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the November 10th meeting for Public Works Committee. We have Alder Myers, Alder Madden, Member Tim and myself present, so we have a quorum. And our first item of business is going through the minutes from the last two meetings, it looks like. Is the second one on there just because we had a change?
Correct. Yeah, we wanted to make the change and just present it to the committee, make sure it was, it looked appropriate, and then we could vote on it, or you could accept it then.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or changes to either of the two minutes that were posted? Alder Myers?
Yes, for the meeting minutes from 10:13, just gonna hit Control F because it's faster. For the call to order of the Public Works Committee on page 3 of 5, Don Knorr is listed as a member present and also a member absent.
Oh,
That's hard.
It is
I didn't catch that.
it is my recollection that Don was absent from those meetings, so I'd ask that we strike him from members present on page 3 and yeah, that's it.
We will make that change, and do you want us to bring it back to the next meeting? We can do that if you want.
Can we just accept it with that correction?
Yeah, we can accept it with that.
Okay. Yeah, unless there's any objections, we'll just accept it with that one correction. All right. Moving on then, next agenda item is water utility staff retention. Is that Ben or Mike?
That's my.
If you saw the agenda packet, this is something I've been working on for quite a while now. And I've been in discussions with Ben, I've been in discussions with Brian Gatto, our new HR person, Casey. The water utility, previous to my coming in, has had a rotation of employees and management. Began roughly 3.5 years ago with the retiring of the current manager that had been in place for roughly 30 years, followed by the assistant, or followed by the foreman, who was relieved of duty. The assistant foreman then stepped away and retired as well, due to the complications of what had gone on with the manager and the foreman. At this time, this is roughly 3.5 years ago now. Mark Cobbs, who was a crewman at that time, was bumped up to foreman position, a position that he never thought he'd be in, and he's doing a great job of it, thankfully. Another person, Chris Stotts, was moved up into a assistant foreman position to cover that. Chris is now leaving us to go to Mazo. His last day was last week, Thursday. We have now moved Brad Breinig, who was the last person basically in the utility of that timeline. He's now the assistant foreman. And then lastly, they brought me in as manager to come back. I've been with the water utility 12 years total, 20 years with the city as a whole, between the streets department and parks department as well. Since, as of recently, with all the turnover, we have had, with myself in the manager position, Mark in the foreman position, and Brad, our new assistant foreman, in the assistant foreman position. That is all of your seniority members of the utility. Everybody beyond those positions are 3 years or less. So basically every crewman that we have below a management or an assistant leadership role, they're all less than 3 years. And actually one is of 3 years and he's just under that yet. The other 3 are under a year with a vacant position to fill. What's been happening is We are losing crewmen to other positions and departments, neighboring departments, Parks Department, Streets Department. They can shift to other departments when they have openings and they have less responsibilities. They have less credentials to obtain, such as the operator certification and maintenance and the acquiring of CEUs, which are credits that you gain by going to seminars, ongoing education, etc. That has to be taken care of every 3 years with 18 credits and roughly 18 hours of schooling. We have lost another person that we had trained for 2 years. This person came in, he did not hardly have any utility knowledge. We got him his CDL, we got him his water operator certification. He was getting his feet under him and was really looking like a promising individual. A neighboring community had an opening and he applied and he was offered $5.86 more an hour to leave here to go there for the same position after we had stuck the investment of training Mark and Brad as our assistant foreman, who was kind of a lead crewman, just in a crewman position, has been responsible for majority of the training of these guys as they keep coming in the door and rotating out. And I know Brad's had a tough go of it. He's been amazing, and that's why he has been moved up to the assistant foreman position. But basically, the long and short of it is we need to retain the employees that we have right now. The utility cannot afford to lose any more of its employees. With Mark looking to retire within about 2 years, hopefully we can keep him that long. You have young Brad. Brad is in his mid-20s, late 20s, excuse me. And he has great knowledge. The next person below him, with the 3 years experience, basically if you bump everybody up 2 years, that's kind of where it doesn't get scary, but it's why we have to keep what we have right now and keep the people that we're training right now. I spoke with many of you over the last week and this morning about the knowledge that it takes to be a solid utility member and how long it takes to gain that knowledge, which is it takes 2 to 3 really good years in the utility before you have a vast knowledge of the large assortment of infrastructure that we are responsible for. And that's why I've kind of come up with this plan in hopes that we can retain what we have and move into the future and keep the future looking bright for the utility, because we have to do something. When I first started with the utility, there were larger separations between the departments. If you were going to the street department, if you were going to the parks department, you were going down a level in classifications of pay. That has changed roughly since Act 10, and then as well as some of the HR things that happened while I was sadly gone. I had left the city for 3 years, but it seems that without that pay difference, it's easier for the guys to jump ship and go where there's less responsibilities and, let's be honest, dealing with sewage and a lot of other things that are unpleasant in this job role.
And being on call, right?
Being on call. I mean, the streets guys, they do get called in for if they have accidents, traffic lights go down, snow plowing, just so that everybody is aware of those guys. But they're definitely not on call. They get called in, where we do have certified people who are on call. They do get compensated for being on call. That has not changed in a very long time. It used to be Middleton used to lead the way. Other communities used to be, or other employees of other communities were very jealous of what we were giving our on-call employees because it was very high back in the day. I don't know. I don't think that's it's not enough to make a difference anymore because the rotation of on call is now 7 or 8 employees. Once we get them trained, right now it's down to just a few that we're comfortable with because we are training those other upcoming 3, soon to be 4. But they're looking like what we have in place right now looks very bright. They're catching on. There's a lot of good things that are happening with training. One of the employees was a previous manager for a plumbing outfit, so he has a great background of utility type things. We have there's a age range of young, middle, and higher up, towards that retirement level. So basically, this is a retention plan to keep what we have and keep stability growing in the utility.
Alder Myers.
Hey, Mike, so thank you for putting this together. You and I have discussed this at length previously. How many employees has the utility lost to internal lateral transfers within the city?
What course of time are you looking for? That's
Over the course of this memo.
we have lost. We've lost 3 internals.
Since when?
So 3.5 years ago.
So that's a $665,400 training and replacement cost to the utility as a result of the internal lateral transfers. Based on the
Correct.
on
Based on the numbers that are shown and the constant training. As I spoke with you guys this morning, even myself, I'm consider myself in training every day. Every day I learn something. I spoke about how, no water main break is the same, no lateral leak is the same, no sewer backup is the same. The training is always happening, and we're always training and helping each other. So the training never ends, which is obviously that's a good thing. We're always learning. But yes, when we broke down the numbers, that is what we felt was fair that we came up with, especially when you put Mark as a foreman, when you add his time in, and obviously that's at a higher cost. And
It
then
was,
breaking it down.
42 an hour, if I remember correctly. Somewhere
Do you
around
wanna-
there.
Do you want to pull up that?
I didn't include it in the packet, or it's not, it wasn't part of the memo, was it?
The pay grade classification.
No.
I think,
No,
I-
it was.
okay. Could you, actually, is it possible for you to put that up on screen?
If you're looking at how much he makes with benefits, it's 57.
57, okay. I didn't know the exact number with benefits. I just knew the hourly. Thanks, Brad. Okay, so I'm looking at this in terms of 2 problems that go into staff retention. One of them is losing people to retirement. We aren't going to solve that. When it's your time to retire, it's your time to retire. There's not really an amount of money that we can offer sufficient to stop that. Another is losing to external hires. One person who left, my understanding is that it was somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a year more that he was going to make in the community he went to. Realistically speaking, we're not in a position to match that. So we have to be responsible for the ratepayers on that end of things, but we also have to be responsible for ratepayers on the side of preventing these internal lateral transfers and making sure that our utility members are sufficiently compensated to an extent that we have a reasonable degree of certainty that unless they're getting an extremely attractive offer from another community, they are going to stay put. And that's why I was hoping that we could figure out a retention plan. Mike, I think you've done a really good job with this, to make sure that we are not uh, losing utility crew members to internal lateral transfers. Because we have a known retirement on the agenda within the next few years. You know, Mark hasn't really made that a secret. But the because frankly, it's not fair to ratepayers to have them subsidize training for city crew members with enterprise fund dollars. Sorry, that was a very long-winded way of saying thank you for putting this together.
Well, I've been working on this a long time, and only more recently with the also additional loss of our assistant foreman of Chris was here another like 12, 13 years as well, to Mazo. Now it's gotten, we're not at dire straits, but we definitely need to do something. I wouldn't be here in person if I didn't think was of utmost importance right now. This is, especially given the scale of projects that the utility has, which we're totally able to do, but we have to stop the revolving door for training people, just to have them lead training, basically training other municipalities to their benefit and our loss, as well as internally. They learn Middleton, they learn the utility, but then they get to go apply it in another department as well.
Do you think we gain some experienced people once in a while too from just people moving around the city?
Well, I had I spoke to a gentleman in the Parks Department, and I said, if I'm working on this big retention thing, I said, and I don't want to poach other employees from other, and I don't think, it's not, Brad doesn't like, it's not that we don't like when it happens. We don't like when it happens, but I also don't like poaching just as much as I don't know how else to call it, but that's kind of the police, law enforcement world has kind of been going through this the last 5+ years, where everybody's picking at the same pool of people, and employees. And considering the fact that the utility is more of a business run atmosphere where it does generate, revenue, we should be leading the way. We should be able to have the security of the employees. It's and that's why I'm here. It's my duty, because without good employees, the utility is just going to falter. It's not, you can't have a utility employee, unfortunately, like a streets or a parks department employee, where you can basically from their first few days say, hey, we're going to put you on a brush route. You're going to go around the city with somebody and pick brush, or hop on a mower, go mow this park. You can't do that in the utility. We have to train them side by side for probably the first couple of years. They are with somebody all the time. Even when we place them on call, once we're comfortable with that, which is usually 6 months or after, depending upon the individual, they still have to call every time they get a call. Mark is getting a call, or Brad will be getting a call, because we still don't have, it takes 5 years before we really trust person how to handle a situation. Individuals, homeowners, residents, people of the public, you never know what we're going to be dealing with. Obviously, when sewage is in your basement, people are screaming at you, and same thing like a sewer overflow response. If we'd ever have something like that, hope to God we don't. But there's a lot of things that our guys have to know of life and death importance, honestly, drinking water, that other departments don't have to worry about. and don't have the responsibility.
Charles?
Yeah, so, I'm, as you know, I do, have a serious concern about our ability to retain people. In terms of adjusting the wages from grade 6 to grade 7 versus what's outlined in your retention plan, could you walk me through and the rest of the committee through uh, why we why we should go with the full retention plan as opposed to uh, a partial in-cycle wage adjustment based on a change in pay grade? And could you also walk us through the financial ability of the utility to absorb the increased employee cost in both? Sorry to spring this on you in the meeting.
That's okay. I'm going to try to remember. There were several questions there. I might start with the last one first.
Okay.
And basically it goes to, when we talk about the cost to the utility, we can't afford to keep training the people that we're having to train. It's costing us more in training and getting employees up to the educational level that we need as a crewman. They have them leave, and then we're absorbing those costs exponentially. To adopt the plan or the pay grade and levels is far cheaper than it is to keep having to train and have this turnover all the time. As well as I'm going to mention that Mark, and Mark doesn't do a lot. He's devoted to the utility, but Mark has not been able to honestly take like a full vacation, all the vacation that he earns in a year. He's maxed out on vacation and he can't hardly get the time away to take vacation. So, I mean, that's another issue. And that's why, Mark has gracefully been giving us, 2 years. He needs a break. And that's that too. Like, I just look at him not even being able to enjoy time off. And now Brad will be kind of absorbing that as well. And in 2 years, what's going to happen there? So as far as cost, I don't know how we can afford, honestly, not to do something. And this is where the plan is derived from, because we can't afford to keep training and having the revolving door for other municipalities and other departments to benefit, which I have said a couple other times. And then Charles, what else you said beginning?
Yeah, so the other part of my question was the wage adjustment in 2 phases from grade 6 to grade 7 is for most employees, I think the total range would be between 3.8% and actually, Ben, could you that spreadsheet that Casey sent to me, could you pull that up so that we're all looking at the same numbers?
Casey, do you have that spreadsheet handy? We have Casey Radke, the HR manager, available. If not, I can pull it up. Maybe.
Yeah, let me
Or
find
I
it
can just-
quick.
Actually, Ben, you were CC'd on that email
Yeah.
that Casey sent.
I don't have
On
my
Friday.
email on this,
Oh,
but-
gotcha. There. Sorry for making this take a little bit longer, everyone. I just want to make sure that when we send something, if we send something to finance and personnel, we've heard their questions thoroughly.
I had some of the same questions, so we're good.
Okay, so I do have the sheet, but I think I need permission to share.
You have it.
All right.
We could try to include more of that information to our committee prior to making a decision too. Feel like
Okay.
they're a little bit left out.
I
Are you all able to see it?
crunched down like as this used to be exorbitantly huge from what I've all had typed up, and I've had to downsize. I mean, I want to provide the history, the understanding, and I don't know how to project all that without pages and pages of writing. Along with this, I have another spreadsheet that breaks down utility, training costs per individual and their times and net, cost and everything. And there's a lot of demographics to cover.
And sorry to interrupt, I just, I would encourage us not to delay on this because it's going to be easier if we include it in the regular budget cycle.
Mhm.
So we unfortunately do have a bit of a compressed timeline in order to make that adjustment in time for the next meeting. So that my understanding is that if we do choose to do something, it's the preference of staff, city staff, not just in the utility, that whatever choice we make it within this budget cycle. Is that an accurate summary of our last conversation, Ben?
I would say if something is forwarded to finance and council for next week, it'd be part of the regular budget process. If it's done after that, it'd be an amendment to the budget, which is certainly possible. So it's not outside of possibility.
No, it's not. It's just my recollection of that Zoom call was there was a preference that was
Sure.
expressed.
Yep.
What are we looking at here?
Casey, you want to?
Yeah, can you see the whole sheet?
Yeah,
Like,
we
okay.
can see this sheet. Yeah.
So the top part is the current grade placement at 6. It shows that the majority of the utility crew member staff, they would get their 2.5% like everybody is getting at a minimum. And then only one staff member would be getting a 3.4% on July 1. If we move them to the grade 7 as with the comp study instead, then the staff members would be getting it looks like one with, well, Caleb Mefford just started, so he would not be getting a 7.1 increase still, but everybody else would be getting, it looks like 2.5 to 7.5%. Mike Atto is in red because he was with the water utility for a very long time. Sounds like, I think he retired and then went to streets and then he came back to water utility. So we were gonna give him that year, that's 6 years in position cap with the comp study because of that previous experience, particularly with the city of Middleton in that position.
Mike is our current full-time locator. He would have been the assistant foreman that left back when everything kind of went south with management. He has since come back, so there are things that I'm not going to take credit for, but some things that have changed for the better with all of us. And we are kind of trying to get people back. I hate to call it poaching, but Mike did leave from the streets to come back to water.
Yeah, I can see why the retention plan would be a more attractive offer. I don't really think 2.5% is gonna make make a huge difference there.
Yeah, a few questions outside the numbers. And this might be more of a question for Casey. Sorry, I lose my voice when I get tired, so. Is there any plan outside of a pay or bonus incentive?
We, like for water utility in particular or as a whole?
Yeah, like clear succession plan or career growth plan?
Yeah, so we don't have any sort of bonus or like that we've talked about yet, I will say. For 2026, we were working on getting the compensation study implemented as we could and as budgets allow, because there are some compression issues throughout all of the city that we wanted to work on funding and then kind of talk about next things for 2027, but we do not have a set plan for that yet.
Yeah, I would say incentive's good or bonus, but most of the time retention comes down to intrinsic value and what the person wants to do. And a lot of that's going to be like growth opportunity and a well laid out plan and a clear path of what that growth opportunity looks like. I think especially for the younger guys, knowing, hey, they're, Mark's going to retire that position. And as the city grows, which it's going to do,
Yep.
those guys are coming up and growing and supporting the new staff that's coming in underneath, just so everyone has an understanding of that kind of plan, I think would be good. The other thing with the people that are leaving is, are we doing any kind of exit interview?
Generally, we do just a general, like, talk about things. Now whether they completely open up or not, I do have a couple letters that are down in my desk that address some things, but a lot of them are. Sam Hahn didn't want to leave here. He liked it here.
Yeah.
He really liked it here. Chris Stotts he never planned on leaving here, and he has left us to go to Mazo. There's been several guys. Ryan Michaels was one that transferred to the street department. He's a young guy. Again, he was kind of the same timeline as Sam. Came in the door, got him trained, and now he's in the street department. Eric Simon was in the utility for a long time, and he transferred to the parks department. He was kind of the one that I was picking his brain on. Hey, I know your heart's in the utility because it is. What are the odds that you would come back if the pot got sweeter? And he was intrigued. But that's we do kind of like have a casual exit interview. And basically it's a lot of it is money driven. It's the almighty dollar.
Yeah. We found it's good, but like the guys will jump for 50 cents an hour, they'll go to another, it's very temporary and immediate. I was just thinking more long term.
Well, and that's kind of with this is my hopes is this just keeps the guys not looking outside. That's what this is all about. If we can keep them at a level that's a step higher than, I'll say the street department, I'll say the parks department, just to keep them give them a little bit more, because their responsibilities are a little bit more, and we should get paid for that. Not being selfish or anything, but as I explained this morning, there are 10 staff members in the water utility that are responsible for 25,000 people's drinking water, and miles and miles and miles of infrastructure, and thousands of valves and thousands of hydrants that get operated twice a year, 7,000 services to houses, 7,000 meters in those houses. I could go on and on with the stats of what 10 people that make up this utility department are responsible for. And that's why we have to have trained, qualified people, and we need them to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you put a price, and putting a price on that is, at this point, it's priceless to keep these people around right now.
Yeah. Is there anything culturally like that could be done? You made a good example. Like, I don't want to, sit in a lawnmower, still work, but like what you guys are doing, you need training and you need, experience, and there's honor in that, and having that and kind of expressing that you guys are, you're a level above sort of, mentality or feeling can go a long way too.
I can tell you, and I'm sure Brad can too, because he sees it and he's been around for a long time. My 20 years with the city, I always gravitated back to the water utility. The water utility has to be a team like no other, because you are going to go through some of the worst days ever. Sub-zero digits, get sprayed with water, working in the street, dangerous conditions as far as traffic, ice, everything else. You're going to go through, I'm not going to say hell, but you're going to go through some incredibly horrible days as a team and as a small family unit.
Yeah.
And those guys carry that, you know, proudly. And we have to be able to get along and solve these issues in a, you know, in a very timely manner. We don't want people out of service. We don't want people to lose their water, or have sewage issues. We have to stay up on maintenance to prevent sewer backups. We have to stay up on maintenance to provide clean water. There's definitely a team, family, consistency that must, of utter importance, be in the utility. So they can all trust each other and all get along. More so than the other departments. The other departments are, you know, they're a little bit more scattered, I'd say, having personally been in all of them now. You know, the streets, you kind of are out doing your thing with another guy, maybe chipping, or obviously this time of year is leaves. You're snow plowing, you're alone. When you're on a mower in the parks department, you're alone. Checking shelters, you're kind of alone. There are things you do as a partnership, but in the utility, you know, going into the houses, people's houses, when you're going into somebody's private personal space, um, you know, you're going into an interesting situation. You know, it's not always very comfortable. I've been to houses that had marijuana plants all over them, you know, and what do we do? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we're there to change a meter. We do what we need to do, but also from a DNR regulatory standpoint, more than ever, we have more things to be conscious of and more regulation that we have to deal with. And guys have to be trained up on and understand it, where we're literally inspecting plumbing in residential houses. Our industrial commercial side, we subcontract out to another company. But our guys have to be up on cross control training when they go into the houses to fill out that. Which kind of also starts with the LSL, the lead service line inventory, where we have to know every service in the city and what it's made of: copper, steel, plastic, poly.
Talking about that earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, the guys are a family unit, and they build that up, you know, and everybody, Mark does a good job of managing it. I mean, obviously there's differences. We are as open as we can be. We're back when I was hired, everything was more of a secret, which probably led to the outfall that you saw 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Mark and I and Brad Mike Addo too. Mike Addo's come back. Obviously, he was a part of that too. But being the locator, he's kind of specifically on locator stuff. So I'm kind of not excluding him, but excluding him a little bit here. But we all went through that nightmare scenario together, and we're all still together, basically for each other. Yeah, I came back here for those guys because I knew the guys that were left were good guys, and they deserve to have hopefully a better leader. Hopefully, that's what I've done. Obviously, we were all handed a huge workload to take over, and with no one to ask questions to. You know, you lost your manager, your foreman, and your assistant foreman. Myself, Mark, and Chris, it all came to one of us because we could go to Sean Stowski, and he had some knowledge of the utility. I mean, Sean had been here for 30 plus years, so he had great knowledge, but a lot of the internals, the hands-on of what we did out in the field, Sean didn't know that stuff. And that's the stuff that we've had to figure out with no history, nobody to turn to and say, hey, how do I do this? Because those people are gone. So we were handed kind of a huge uphill battle 3 years ago, and we've taken that on, and like I said, it's probably made us tighter because of it, and we've grown together, and that's how the utility's always been, though.
One thing
like that.
I've had luck with in the past, and it sounds like you guys are doing it, like really intentional one-on-ones, or, you know, just interactions outside of just an annual review.
Yep.
Maybe every couple of weeks or a month, you guys go to lunch, or want, you know, individually just get feedback, and, you know, just some, that seems to really help communication pass organizations.
Sadly, our last lunch was last week for Chris's last day. You know.
Reason.
But no, and the city has taken a different approach on those type of things, and honestly, probably more of a managerial change of just saying, yes, we can do lunch. Yes, we can do a few of these things that generally were not done before, that we were told there was never time or money for.
Yeah.
You know,
Tim, do you have any more questions? I think Kim had some.
No, sorry,
Oh, it's all
Did
right.
you have any more? Because you
No,
kind
that-
of had the floor for a second.
that's it.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
No, I just wanted to make the observation that, you know, the company that I work for in the private sector went through exactly this kind of reorganization, looking at our compensation study between, you know, certain departments that had very specialized licensures and CEUs. This is exactly the kind of thing that we came up with. We gave those people who had been in that position kind of a bump depending on their seniority and current salary, right in line with, you know, the rest of, you know, say management or others. But I appreciate that you were concise in this. This was easy to read and understand. This, like I said, was exactly the same type of thing where you get a certain amount of money for certain certifications, right? So it is incentivizing people to do a good job and to do that. When they do their CEU hours, are they on the clock hours? Are they on their own to do that? Like the city
Those
provides
are-
the time?
correct. Those
Okay,
are,
good.
those city provides those, the city pays for the classes, pays for the time, vehicle if needed, if they're going to the Dells or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
We picked that up.
Because I mean, just from the standpoint of retention, like that's the number one killer of anybody's bottom line is if you invest that much into an employee and then you don't get that return back on it. You know, I've gone through that, like I said, in my position, and it's affecting us now too. So I feel you. I get it, right?
I watched a really good presentation, of course, halfway through, when we've been working through this from Baker Tilly. And Baker Tilly had a great presentation that I watched, and it was about employee retention and setting up those steps that you talked about for future advances and laying out a plan. I didn't have time to do that, you know, before trying to get this in. There's a lot of things that I thank you for your acknowledgement of me, but I feel like I felt short on because I didn't have all the time and I didn't have the space to get in everything that I wanted to get in. So thank you for acknowledging that, but I just wish it was better. Yeah, but yeah. At the Baker, did you see the Baker Tilly presentation at all? Okay, it's probably something we should all see as managerial staff.
So I guess I'll just say I'm in favor of what you've written up here for the retention plan. I'm okay with doing that tonight. I think in the future, a little more information. I mean, we just got this like Friday, I think. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd been nice to see like comparisons with other cities in the area, but you know, mainly you sold me on it this morning when you explained how the compensation needs to reflect the additional qualifications that are required for these positions above and beyond other departments within the city. So we're not losing the lateral. So I'm in favor of it. We were looking for a motion.
Yeah.
Anybody else has any questions for Mike? Charles or Kim? Tim, anything else?
So who wants to make the motion?
I'll do it. This is Madden I move that the Public Works Committee, acting as the Board of Directors for the water utility, recommend to Finance and Personnel and the Common Council the approval of the water utilities employee retention plan, an 8% pay increase for hourly employees, and the tiered incentive structure.
Myers, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? Okay, move on to the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Mike. I think you put together really good information in your memo.
Thank you. I know on a short night it went long.
So obviously you put a lot of time in it, though. So it deserves
Yeah.
the attention it got.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for this morning. It's really informative.
I'm glad you all wanted to come out and check it out.
Yeah.
That means a lot to us too, because we're happy to share what's going on. I mean, any project, anytime, I'd love to do it. if you guys are up for it.
Yeah, great. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciated my separate well tour.
It was good to see the mayor too. The mayor came out and was able to see to us. They were out before the rehab had begun though, so they didn't
Oh.
see the bomb that had detonated that you all got to see.
Crack in the dome,
Yeah.
floor.
Brad and Casey, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is charge up Dane County EV infrastructure agreements.
Thank you. Yeah, we have Kelly Hilliard, as Sustainability Coordinator, who will present that.
Hello all. Thanks for having me. It was really interesting, Mike. Well, I can't wait to talk to you more about that in the office. So this item is a request to approve pending Matt Fleming's attorney review of two agreements to add EV charging for the public at two sites that are city-owned in Middleton. One would be at Lakeview Park in their parking lot, and the other one is a parking lot out in Greenway Station, kind of behind Johnny Delmonico's restaurant. It's called the Market Street parking lot. They're both city-owned lots. And these, there would be two charging stations at each location, dual ports. So that means there'd be four total charging ports at each location. It's grant funded through a federal grant that the county received. So there's EV charging going in all throughout the county, in rural areas and also in urban areas. The chargers are primarily meant to provide more equitable access for urban dwellers, people who rent, who maybe don't have home charging. And so the locations that were selected are located near multifamily housing for residents who probably don't have access at their place of their dwelling or their apartments. These two agreements have gone through Parks and Rec and Forestry Commission and were approved pending attorney review, and also the Sustainability Committee approved pending attorney review. There's one line, I think it's item 10 perhaps, in the Lakeview Park agreement that says that the chargers should be available 24 hours a day, and that language needs to be changed to when the park is open. So that's an edit we need to make with Matt before they're approved in council. So questions, it's a pretty, it's been a project we've been working on for a couple years now with the county, has a lot of stakeholders involved. The city would pay for the electricity that people charge at those sites, but then we would charge a rate to the public so that we would recoup the energy bills for those charging stations. The county is planning to write an RFP to select the host charging company who would manage the chargers. So if anything happened, if a charging station broke, then that company would be responsible for coming out, fixing things. And we would work with the county to charge a rate that would cover the electricity, any insurance upcharges that there might be. And then in the future, after 5 years, the city would take ownership of those charging stations. We would either continue an agreement with that same charging company that had been managing them, or we could select another one at that time if we wanted to. By that time, I'm hopeful that we'll know more about what rates to charge. If there's any technology that changes within the 5 years, we would have those 5 years to work that stuff out along with the county with the grants that funds those types of changes. So there might be some questions, but I'll stop there for now.
Charles?
Hi, Kelly, thank you for your work on this. I appreciate it. There is one amendment that I'd like to propose to both of these and to all city agreements going forward, which is that we incorporate by reference contractor must adhere to the complete streets during construction policy.
Oh, great. Yeah, that sounds good. I know a little bit about that. Yep.
So we spent a lot of time developing that. And now we need to make sure that we're actually specifying that people will follow it. So I'd like to add that if we want to do it as a motion, we can. I think it might be helpful for Matt to get that as a specific direction, potentially, but
Sure.
I think we've also made our feelings known, so I don't have strong feelings either way. Ben?
I think Kelly and I can probably communicate that to Matt, but a motion is fine as well. Up to the body.
I would say if we're making a motion to accept that change, we could do it all at once.
Does anybody have any other changes they want to make? Well, in that case, I would move to recommend to the Finance Personnel Committee and Common Council approval of the charge up Dane County EV infrastructure agreements pending city attorney review and incorporation by reference of City of Middleton complete streets policy inclusive of the complete streets during construction policy.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? So we'll move on to the vote. All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kelly.
Kelly.
Thank you all.
Okay, next item is liaison briefings. Mary is not here. Don is not here. Kim, have you had a meeting since our group?
So just a, point of order or whatever, there is no liaison to the public or to Ped Bike and Transit. Although I am happy to say, at our last meeting, we discussed ways that we can move the education forward for Ped Bike and Transit, especially using Bike Week as a way to like, hey, let's brainstorm some ideas of how to get more people involved in Bike Week, involved in pedestrian. We talked about doing some scavenger hunts. We are currently, as a committee, putting together like favorite routes in Middleton, so that'll be kind of fun. I'm hoping that we see an online map with all of those routes that tourism can promote, and that hopefully we can incorporate B-Cycle into.
Do you want me to strike this briefing?
Yes.
From the list? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we could always, if there's something important, you could
Yeah,
make it an agenda item for.
absolutely. If I think that there's something that is coming up, and of course, we're gonna have our next joint meeting. It will be probably April.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Right, so the next item is future agenda items. I'll start with Charles.
Yeah, since we have Brad on the line. Discussion of the retaining wall outside of the operations center.
Which, if there's an issue with that, Brad, let's talk about that on Thursday.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Else, Charles?
No, I think that's it.
I have none.
I don't have anything. Tim, do you have anything?
Nope.
No, okay. Reached the end of our, oh, Ben.
A quick plug for members of the committee and the public. On Thursday, November 13th, the Dane County Engineering Department, Middleton Public Works, in conjunction with Strand Engineering, are hosting a public information meeting regarding the bridge over Pheasant Branch Creek replacement project that's scheduled for 2027. So that's going to be at Middle School. So that's a bridge that's on Century Avenue by Branch Street. And it's at 5:30 PM at the middle school. So if you're interested in that project and or want to see any presentation from the county and from Strand, feel free. I believe it will be recorded as well. So
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's the date? Sorry.
it's this Thursday, the 13th at 5:30 at Cronry.
Where there's one of like four coming up or something. Isn't there other ones?
No, that's the community campus
Oh, that. okay.
discussion. Yeah, so there's 4 of those coming up as
Now
well.
we're in discussion.
Yeah, no, we're not, yeah. Just a clarification. All right, thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
So I'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Quick question from you guys. I had a slew of questions just to catch up on the EV infrastructure. It was 72 pages of terms and conditions, which I wasn't able to get.